very controversial subject on Memorial Day weekend. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, sir.
All right, thanks, guys. You too.
All right. Ed Kratz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles and our official contributor to NFL contributor, does a lot for the show. And, we don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. We'll start with you real quickly, Mo. We do got to wrap this up, as I know that Rick has a graduation thing he's doing, and, it's that time of day. But I was talking to local media a lot today this week in the media center down at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Their thoughts are that everything's going to be okay with Andrew Luck. They don't feel like that the Colts have been 100% transparent with us and with the fans, but they do feel like that they've said enough, showed us enough to believe that Andrew Luck will be back. I think the telltale sign, Mo, would have been if they had drafted a quarterback in the first round or 2 rounds in the draft. That would have really showed us something. But the feeling I'm getting from talking to local media who's out there at the Colts complex all the time, that Andrew Luck is going to be back. Go ahead.
I think Andrew Luck wants to be back, and I think the Colts want him to be back. But, there's still part of me that doubts that he ever plays another NFL football game. I think there's more issues than we've been led to believe. We've seen the Colts, obviously, over this past year and a half, have not been honest when it comes to Andrew Luck. I think that them signing J.T. Barrett from Ohio State as an undrafted free agent is another sign that there's still questions and issues. I think Carson Wentz plays an NFL game before Andrew Luck, honestly, at this point. The future, I don't think looks very bright in Indianapolis as it sits today. Now, does that change by the time that the training camp and the season starts? Maybe. But I do not think Andrew Luck starts the season as the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts.
Wow. Breaking news from Mo for the BS Sports Show. Mo, where can people find your work and masterpieces, sir?
Today at Rick's graduation party, it sounds like that's going to be a hell of a time. Other than that,
doesn't it?
Show on Twitter.
Come on down, buddy. More than welcome.
We'll head on down there after the show. I'll be down there about 3 o'clock. Okay, Mo, we appreciate you, buddy, and we'll talk with you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
Mo for the BS Sports Show. Ed Kratz joins us, and Rick, we'll wrap it up here, but I tell you what, it's clearly a polarizing subject, and I know us in our show, we the balance will always stand for the national anthem, but there is that element of people that won't, and Ed kind of brings up an interesting point. I don't agree with it per se. But he does mention the fact that the First Amendment freedom, is being crushed on because we're punished to somebody for exercising that First Amendment right. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, and it's true. And the point I was trying to make with Peyton Manning, it's not that he's white quarterback or white player or white guy or anything like that. I was just going for like a bigger name, a bigger stature guy. Maybe I should have said Larry Fitzgerald. Who's also an NFL Man of the Year. What if he was the one to start this whole thing off? How different would things be instead of a guy of Colin Kaepernick's stature? That's really the point I was going after, and it wasn't. Once you said nothing would happen because Peyton Manning's white, I realized my mistake. I was just really going for the bigger name and not really color of the skin. But but Ed is right. You go suppress players and keep them in the locker room because they want to protest goes against every single thing that our men and women died for that we're honoring this weekend. And he's exactly right, and I don't agree with the NFL rules. So, but that's what it is. So, I think more people are going to protest now. It was going away. It was a dying light. You saw less and less of these protests, and now we're going to see a lot more of them because of this new NFL rule.
So fuel is added to the fire. Rick-Riggin, congratulations again on becoming an old man and joining the old timers club, if you will. Enjoy your time with your family. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. And Rick, thanks for manning the war room and social media for us. Where can people find us on social media? Where can people find our podcasts, our work, our masterpieces?
At T-Balance, thebalanceonline.com, at Riggin_Rick. At Thomas Mark on Twitter, anything, anywhere. You've probably seen us all over the Indy 500 the past 2 weeks. There's been our listeners and have done a great job of interacting with us on Twitter as far as Indy 500 goes these past couple weeks. So keep it up, and we'll keep doing what we do.
All right, buddy, you have yourself a good one. What we're going to do here is we're going to replay what I played earlier on in the show. And the reason for this was our special Field of 33. Growing up, I remember not always being able to go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but also being able to listen to it on the radio. There's something special about listening to the Indianapolis 500 on the radio. The guy that made that iconic was Sid Collins. We've played this on the show before, but I just think this is a great piece to help understand the importance and the history of the Indianapolis 500. And we'll be out at the track tomorrow covering it for us in Speedway Digest. So what we're going to do is we're going to end the show with what we kind of opened up with today, and that's a tribute to Sid Collins.
From Indianapolis, Indiana, scene of the world's greatest race course, this is Sid Collins saying welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This racetrack has been the scene of some of the most spectacular, most thrilling, some of the saddest, and some of the most glorious moments in the entire world of sport. For A.J. Foyt, winner of the Golden Anniversary 500-mile race. One of the most thrilling, surprising, exciting finishes ever.
Set to go once again with our coast-to-coast radio coverage of the world-famous 500-mile race. This is the true endurance test of man and machine.
He was a perfectionist himself. He was a class act. He dressed the part, he acted the part. He was a real professional. And I think he'll always be remembered as the voice of the 500.
The 500, the greatest race in the world.
By 1954, listening to the 500 was a tradition worldwide. Radios from Tokyo to Tinseltown heard Sid Collins deliver all the race day excitement.
He painted such an image for me. I mean, it was powerful.
The Golden Pace Car will make an abrupt cut into the pits at a 45-degree angle at 90 miles an hour. Here they come down the main straightaway for the world's fastest flying start. There's the green flag and the 500-mile race is on.
Sid was the first voice of the 500 network. His poetic style and smooth voice informed fans for over 25 years. He was the architect of today's 500 broadcast.
And Sid had a particular flair. He could turn a phrase, as they say, unlike most anybody else. He was always extremely well prepared. Sid was never at a loss for word.
Well, race fever's reached the boiling point now, fans. The cars will pass us like a jet rocket, and here they come. There's the green flag, and the race is on.
He was almost the star. You knew Sid and his voice and so forth, maybe better than a lot of the drivers.
I think that Sid and his crew created a magic on that one day of the year that drew the entire country.
Victory Lane, 2 words with no parallel to men who devote their lives to speed and competition and raw courage.
Sid was a very unique individual, always immaculately dressed, always aware of his presence, and very much into the race. This was not just a job for Sid. This was indeed a lifetime achievement event for him.
Sid was a master at making 4.5, 5.5 hours seem intriguing.
The engine's now gathering strength and volume, settling to a pulsating roar as they go into the back stretch. The waiting is over. The magical moment of the start of the race rapidly approaching. Each man is alone now, all reduced to the singular conflict. 32 others are pitting their resources against his.
I enjoyed listening to Sid because he made the exciting moments exciting.
Over here's a skid right in front of us. Number 83 spinning around 3 times, 4 times, right on the main stretch.
What?
Don Davis, watch it out there. Wow, right around the outside of Davis with the Cooper Climax by inches, and Don Davis is situated right now in his car, getting up and out right in the middle of the main stretch. Getting up dejectedly, walking away, and there are 2 cars going around, and number 73
Trouble
spins.
again.
Whoa, right in front of the main stretch, 2 cars flip. Get the glasses on them and see who they are. A 3rd car bumps, and the entire main stretch is upside down.
Sid delivered the race in a style all his own. But it was in 1955 that he would coin a phrase that put him and the Speedway on the map forever.
In radio, you needed, in those days, to tell the local station it's now time for you to roll your commercials. Now all that's done electronically. Didn't have that then. So they needed a phrase and they needed a catchphrase.
Now stay tuned for the greatest spectacle in racing.
It would give me goosebumps.
Whenever I hear that, then that's Sid Collins.
The day that he took over the 500 and coined the phrase, the greatest spectacle in racing, it changed his life to the day that he passed away.
1955 also presented Sid with his first crisis situation, a true test for any broadcaster.
The caution light is out indicating trouble. Let's go to the back stretch and Jack Shapiro.
Bill Vukovich, evidently going to the outside to miss the trouble, went over the wall, and that car is still burning over there.
Why don't you drop the mic for a second, go check, and come call us back when you see those numbers. We won't call you till you get back.
I'll check the car that is burning. I certainly will, Sid.
In the midst of all the chaos, Sid took control of the situation live and unscripted. Sid stayed calm and kept listeners informed even when the worst news of all filtered to the booth.
Here we have never had to make such an announcement, and we're most regretful. Bill Vukovich, three-time winner of the 500-mile race, almost, trying for his third consecutive today, trapped in his car in the backstretch, was injured fatally.
When the network entered its second decade, over 700 stations broadcast the 500. Sid and his staff wanted the race to reach every corner of the globe, and they were getting close.
Sid was so proud of the network, and he often used to boast, this is the largest radio network in the world, larger than NBC, ABC, Mutual, any of the old networks.
Just about everywhere where English was spoken, you could get it.
Sid and his crew developed the race broadcast to include more than just the leader and the lap count.
There would be great periods of time when it was just nothing much going on, So what he did was he had all kinds of ideas for guests, dignitaries that he thought would make the show more interesting to the average listener, so he'd get the Hollywood types on there. And
now Indy was more than a sporting event. It was a social event.
Songstress, Miss Dinah Shore. Are you getting ready for your trip to Victory Lane in a couple of hours, Dinah?
Oh, I tell you, the moment when I get to present that Borg Warner trophy is going to be the thrill of my life. Unbelievably exhilarating occasion when that pacing car came down the stretch.
I like that. I thought that was colorful. That added something to it. A dimension to the broadcast that I didn't know the broadcast had at the time. I mean, big name people do come here for this race.
He was also able to keep you entertained in the laps when, if nothing was happening, it could get boring, and it never did.
Well, A.J. Foyt has a new car with an upright engine this year on the left, and he, of course, is a rather quiet fellow. In fact, he's very, very modest indeed, and it's hard to get him to say anything. 5 laps to go, and Eddie Sachs, as they say in horse racing circles, at this moment, winning, going away. However, anything could happen. And now coming in for a pit stop is Eddie Sachs. A surprise, a pit stop for Eddie Sachs coming in. And they're still working and going by as A.J. Foyt takes the lead from Eddie Sachs to the south turn with 3 laps to go.
He was a history reporter. He wanted to correctly report history. He didn't want to give bad information.
And the Golden Anniversary 500-mile race is on. The number 1 turn and Mike Ahern.
And here they come into the number 1 turn, accelerating out of the pack and taking the lead. Well, it's either at...
We have an accident on the main stretch, Mike. Hold it. We have a terrible accident on the main stretch.
Our policy has always been you call what you see and you don't make any judgments about anyone's condition or anything.
It was that kind of perfection and preparation that got Sid through the start of the 1964 race.
There has been a spectacular crash almost at the head of the main stretch. There's so much fire and so much smoke, I am unable to see any car at all.
A 7-car crash claimed the lives of drivers Eddie Sachs and Dave McDonald.
We're all speeding toward death at the rate of 60 minutes every hour. The only difference is that we don't know how to speed faster, and Eddie Sachs did. And so since death has 1,000 or more doors, Eddie Sachs exits this earth in a race car. Knowing Eddie, I assume that's the way he would have wanted it.
Sid's emotional eulogy is considered one of the most moving moments in 500 history.
Join us next week for The Balance. In the meantime, check us out on Twitter.